Hello, in this video I'm going to look at an SJ4000, which is basically a GoPro clone, and my one has developed a fault, which is a bit of a shame. So if I switch it on, and it seems very intermittent, but the screen often goes corrupt. You get green and all sorts appearing on it, but sod's law that right now I won't be able to get it to do it. Anyway, this I've been using as a dash cam and has worked pretty well for quite a while. But more recently, the battery of the original battery has been very swollen, which I think has then damaged the inside of the SJ4000. So can't get this to go wrong in the way that it normally does. It's a bit of a shame. If I put in the old battery, I probably would do. But anyway, the symptom is basically just green mess all over the screen. If I get it to do it later, I can redo or add an extra bit to the video. So in an attempt to... Oh, there you go. That was... yeah, that's basically the kind of thing it does. Intermittently, and then crashes and freezes and hangs, or that, the screen sometimes is green instead of being a mess of white noise. So something in there is intermittent, not making contact properly, or is shorting out. So I thought I'd take it to bits and see what I can find. So that's the new battery. So my lighting will allow you to see it. Not very well there. If I rotate that so it's the same orientation as that battery. One of them is very bloated and the bottom one is fine. So the front of this just basically unclips. Let's try unscrewing it. Cool, not a lot in that bit where it stores, where the battery is housed. That's where the battery is. Which side will it have expanded? Okay, interesting. Doesn't look like that's really an area that it could have caused a problem. It's looking pretty horrifically like a lot of this might be glued together. I'm not sure, without de-gluing this back bit, whether I'm going to be able to get to any of the circuitry. Let's undo that. That circuit board at the bottom there runs underneath where the battery would sit. Maybe the whole enclosure comes up. Does rather look like that might be it. Definitely feels in this corner like the whole thing's supposed to or could come away. Nothing else elsewhere in this case feels like it will give way. I think I'll have to revisit this later. So the pliers worked. Basically, it's in focus, that was stuck in there, and I pulled on that bit upwards and then towards this direction, and unfortunately the LCD connector is a ribbon connector there, which I obviously hadn't undone, and that's obviously come out, so may be damaged. I have to find that out later. I'm also unsure how I'm going to be able to reconnect that, considering I can't get into it. So I guess the LCD comes out somehow. It's going to focus, please. So I'm going to have to research that. It's looking very much like that went in from this side, because there's lips there and a lip there, which is going to stop me bringing the LCD out this way. So I expect this plastic panel gets glued over the top of the LCD after the LCD's been placed down with that circuit board in there and connected. So I'll probably have to get a hot glue, sorry, a heat gun, and see if I can pry up this. But as I thought, if you're going to take one of these to bits, you probably need to start with degluing that and prying that up, then pulling the LCD up, detaching it from that connector, and then you'll be able to release the rest of the circuit board from the remaining bit of the plastic case. So what do we have? We've got the lens, which is, you can change the focus on, but it's glued into a certain position, so presumably in the factory they've optimized it and then glued it in place so you can't change the focus or can't defocus it. That one there on this little kind of fly lead is the power button, or entertainingly spent POWER. So it's the POWER button. On the top is the button that you press to start and stop recording, and on the sides you've got the up and down buttons which you use in the menus. The speaker, which isn't particularly useful for me, and I think that one there is the microphone. The USB power and I guess data connection, I think that is HDMI maybe, or a conversion that lets you go out to HDMI. SD card slot, or a micro SD card slot, and that's about it. So I'm a bit stuck on how I'm going to be able to test this now. I think I will have to deglue that and then see if I can connect it all back together and test flexing the board and seeing whether I can get it to go wrong, but I expect it's something that's entirely unfixable by me, which is a bit of a shame. I will probably have to find a replacement for this, which has served me well. I looked at the date, I bought it in September 2014, so I've had this for almost exactly 2 years. Been very pleased with it until it just went wrong. So there we go. Yeah, no way I can reconnect that. I will get out the heat gun and record another video when I've managed to do that. Right, there we go, as I thought. Heat gun, and very gently heated it up, didn't need to really do a lot. And that's that fascia. Was then very easily pried under with that. Pull that off. And let's see whether the LCD comes out forward. Yes, as I thought it did. So, the way I opened it is not the way you want to open it. You can open all the screws at the back, but before you take this circuit board out of there, you want to deglue the front, take the plastic cover off the front, take the LCD out of the front, and disconnect it from there, which then means you can pop the rest of the circuit board out. If you do it in the wrong order, you potentially, like I may have, I'll find out later, might damage that LCD connector. So let's find out if I have damaged mine. So also see whether I can work out what's causing it to crash. Oh dear. Well, I believe I may have broken it. Because pressing the power light is not doing anything at all. Oh, I know why. Put in the broken, swollen battery. In fact, let me chuck that one out. Right. Yeah, that's in the recycle bin for batteries. Let's try the actual working battery. Oops, yes, please insert card. So that's certainly very interesting that when I flex the circuit board, the pattern changes. I'm going to guess that's either faulty RAM. It probably has to be faulty RAM. I can't really see it being anything else. It doesn't do it when I flex the display, so it's not down to the display. So not really much more I can think of trying. So let's investigate what's under all of the rest of this. I'm going to start with the battery compartment. I strongly think this is going to end up in just buying a replacement one. It's going to be a bit sad, but there you go. Cheap Chinese electronics for you. Right, I've got a problem because the microphone is glued on there, and see, can I detach that? Yes, I can. Right, let's see if I can work out flexing which bit causes the problem. Cool, this is definitely a Frankenstein setup. So trying to keep things as still as possible, I'm going to press the record button. And immediately it goes corrupted. Right. It's difficult to test because the battery goes across there. I'll tell you one thing I will try is just reseating the ribbon cable to the video sensor. It's also going to look fairly difficult to do. Probably unscrew it to give me more room to play about with. It's amazing what effort you'll go to save spending £30 on a new camera. Whoop, dropped that. That nearly disappeared. Oh, there we go. That's the, I believe it might be called the CMOS, or at least it's basically the lens and image sensor part of this. It's going to be nosy. See what happens if you turn it on without that plugged in. What does it do? Well, apparently nothing. Doesn't do anything at all. So let's reseat it and see if that's the problem. Apparently not. Well, that's frustrating. Not really sure what else I can do with this. I'm going to guess that if there's RAM on this, possibly the RAM has gone faulty. In fact, looking at that, there is a bit of that chip has possibly has a crater in it. No, it definitely didn't. That's just gunk left on it from probably manufacture. That is a shame. I am baffled. Other than poor connections on one of these chips, there's not really else I can think of which would have been caused by the original battery in this swelling and pushing on some of the components or the chips. It's interesting, it will relay an image absolutely fine until the moment you press to record. It just goes mad. And extra weird that if you press on the circuit board it changes, so I'm not pressing anywhere near the SD card. I'm pressing, if anything, I'm pressing on the battery, which has those surface mount chips below it. What a shame. I'll have to order a new one, but hopefully somebody's been interested in seeing what's inside an SJ4000 fake GoPro. Certainly been interesting for me.